How's it going, guys? Gabe here from Gabe's Brief, and I just wanted to kind of do an update. I haven't done a video or an update in a really long time. Fortunate, I've only had 2 deaths, and one was a suicidal slug, and the other was the old anemone. This is a bubble tip, or probably a rose bubble tip, and the old one was just a plain bubble tip. So the other one kept hiding in a crevice where he would not get enough light, and that bleached him, and then he eventually just started dissolving, and I had to get rid of him, unfortunately. As far as the suicidal slug, I've bought a couple more just to keep everything kind of clean. I haven't used the magnet in a couple of days. I need to. It only takes me a few minutes to get it cleaned up. It's usually pretty clear like so. It just every once in a while, every few days, like 3 days or 4 days, it gets a little bit of growth like so on the sides. So it's not a big deal. I could quickly clean it off. I just didn't do it right now just to show you how things are going. My scooter Blenny is still alive and kicking, and so is the Mandarin. In the beginning, I think I used like over 10 bottles of $28 Tigger pods. And honestly, in the wintertime when I get laid off, I didn't want to invest that much money. So I slowly started giving frozen food in the beginning. The blue one turned its nose, blue turned its nose, Scoot did not. And then I guess he's seen that, hey, that's where the food source is. And eventually, Blue got on board. You can tell he kind of always tries to get my attention for food. I feed him once a day. I probably should do a little more, but it's just hard with all the bio waste, even though I feed small amounts of shrimp. The issue is all the waste, and what sucks is the good thing about the Tigger pods is they can eat whenever they wanted to. I don't know if there's still any in here. I mean, you know, dumping 10 bottles with plenty of phytoplankton and a million places to hide, you think that there'd be a healthy population. I don't know how to find that out. Maybe there's a few every once in a while I see them pecking, which would be great, but I'd say predominantly they're mostly eating or hiding. So I feed brine shrimp, minus shrimp. You know, I feed the anemones, sometimes a little too much. That's why you get a little bit of that poop in their tentacles, trying to poop it out. But, you know, it just depends. Some of them like it every day. Some of them like it every 3 days. Some of them like it once a week. So it just varies. I kind of upset this coral, this little leather, because his branch was touching my torch, and that whole corner of that torch is like the little tentacles are like completely shrunken in. So I was upset. Used something just to kind of move him away from it so he doesn't touch it. Hopefully he stays away. And then the Lobo's doing okay. You know, doing that iodine dip actually changed his color a little bit, which I don't mind. He's kind of unique. He's still doing well. There's plenty of growth there, as you can tell. There's plenty of growth, which is good. As far as pests go, Aiptasia is pretty much controlled. You might see a stray every once in a while. I treat it and it goes away. I have a little bestial or Bissell worms, or however you want to pronounce that. They can be a pest. They can overpopulate, but so far I don't have a bunch of them yet. The ones I do have hide really well in the rocks and actually eat a lot of the waste and a lot of uneaten food, so it kind of helps. Scoot has grown a little bit. My hermit crabs are getting huge. I actually need to get some more bigger shells. I don't want them finding each other for the shells. The clownfish one is ginormous, and the other one's smaller, which everyone tries to say female, smaller, but clownfish are all males, and then one of the dominant one becomes the female. I don't know, because in the beginning, the big one was kind of dominant. He'd swim around the top or hide somewhere, and the little one would follow him like a lost sheep. And then now, the little one and the big one tend to fight. I don't know if it's over this anemone or what, but he's really protective of his anemone, which I understand. And the big one does not even get an anemone, and he does that. And he gets upset that he's not in there with it, or he maybe gets upset because maybe he's not the dominant one. I don't know the story. There you go, them scrapping right there a little bit. So I don't see any nibbled like fins. All their fins are healthy. Everyone seems to be healthy. Everyone's eating. It just sucks that they're not bonded, which it can happen. Look, I just found some Aiptasia. No bueno. I need to treat that. You know, I've been trying to get and square a little bit underneath there. It was a really bad case, and the green star polyps around this area right here, and all of this was just desolate. No kind of no kind of growth or no kind of little green little what do you call those? The part of the polyps, of the green star polyps. So unfortunately, I dosed a bunch of Joe's Juice and it got rid of most of it, so it started growing back thick. Has a little spot it needs to grow back to. I need to double check. There may be one back there. I think I kind of see. So I got to double check that and treat that. I feel like Aptasia X may be stronger because everyone seems to treat it once and it goes away. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But everywhere I've treated it, it kind of dies, and then you'll see another one. It did spread from original that I waited a little too long to treat, so that's kind of my fault. Joe's Juice works okay. All my turbo snails seem to be doing okay. There's plenty of food and algae and stuff around here, so they're doing okay. The hermit crabs seem to be doing okay. The Danzel grown a little bit. He's real shy. He loves the rock work. Kind of pops out and goes back in little caves and stuff, which is really neat. He's kind of hard to find sometimes. One day I couldn't even find him because the cave work is so many different caves he can hide in. Sometimes you can't even see him. The mushroom is huge. It was big to begin with, but it is getting bigger. Is there someone in that shell? Yes, there is. See, they're fighting over the shell. You need to cut that out. Let's separate them too. I'm gonna go to the pet store, hopefully. Let me flip this lid up a little bit, see if I get these guys separated. I don't want them killing each other if it's not already too late. Never mind. It looks like, sorry, hold on, let me kind of get most of this water off. I thought there was another one in the other shell, and apparently there wasn't. He was scoping it out, and I feel bad now. But don't worry, guys. I'm going to go pick up some larger shells, hopefully. Let's see. Yeah, there's no one in that shell, so I feel bad now. Go ahead, buddy. Do what you're doing. I'm sorry. And you can see a little bit of, what's that? Cyanobacteria. I need to treat that a little bit in that green, in that reddish kind of algae. There's some algae right there. I could pluck that. I kind of left a little bit. Should probably pluck it though. There's one of the worms right there. You kind of see its butt right there. And then I need to clean around it. I actually got some corals right here growing. 3 heads looks like. I need to clean the algae around it a little bit, give it some room to grow. My Candies has so many heads. Like, it's crazy. It needs to grow away from the rocks. Maybe that was a poor place. I don't know. Candies are doing great. This little leather tree is doing great. This one I thought it was going to die a while back. It started growing new tentacles, and he seems to be pretty happy. The mushrooms, I did have another small one right there, but that one's kind of covering it up. I see extra growth. There's, of course, some more Aptasia. Kind of angers me, but there's more Aptasia, which I'm about to treat. Turn off the flow. I'm going to definitely treat it today. Emerald crab's doing well. The branded shrimp, he likes to hide, but he's doing well. He's probably molted at least 3 or 4 times. The only creature I have not seen that I bought, I was hoping to see, is the horseshoe. I know they like to dig and be underneath for a while, so I'm not like panicking too much because there's so much cave work underneath and the rocks are not flat across the bottom. And there's, you know, a decent amount of sand in here. I put like forget how many pounds it was, like 20 or 30 pound bag and a 30-gallon tank, so it's pretty deep. So he has plenty of places to hide. I haven't seen him since I bought him. It's been several weeks. There's plenty of food and growth and leftover food at the bottom. He may come out at night. I just don't see him because I don't put a light in here. I let everybody rest. There's the Danzel, of course, hiding through his cave work. You sometimes see his head right there. Or on this side, you may be able to see his tail. It's just crazy how many caves there are. He loves hiding in the caves, which is cool for him. I guess it's a good spot. The tank itself is doing great. I have had no problems with leakages or anything like that. And I've had this for months and months. I bought this, I think, right after July or August or something like that. So, it's getting ready to be February, so it's definitely been there a long time. He's just checking out the shells, hopefully getting himself a bigger shell, because they are growing, because there's a lot of waste in food. He's like, let me see this shell. Probably is bigger, buddy. Hopefully the hole's bigger for you. I'll try to get you some more shells. What else? Whenever I get the tube out, everybody comes. Whenever I feed by hand, they come right up to my hand. Like the clownfish are just crazy right now. I wish I get that situation figured out, because one is so much bigger than the other. It's not even funny. He's literally more than double his size. And I guess he's trying to get dominance over him so he can become the female. The dominant one becomes the female. They both start out as males, so it's like craziness. I feel bad because hopefully they get that situated. These were, I was told when I first got them, they were torch corals. I know in the first videos you'll see them, the tentacles were like barely even. It doesn't even look like a tentacle, look like small heads. The tentacles are getting longer and longer. They do take a long time to get this big, so I'm really proud of that. You can see them kind of hanging over because they're so long. You don't want too much flow. I think it's pretty good where they're at. You kind of see everything just like moving, but not aggressively. You know, like that. That's not too aggressive. He loves that movement. The reason why he likes that spot, it's not too aggressive, but there's still a little bit of movement there. Pretty much have the same hardware. You know, I still have the protein skimmer that's supposed to come with it. Slides right in. 100 watt heaters, kept the temperature good. That 500 gallon circulation pump, and then the original 300. So there's plenty of flow. I got the original one kind of pointed up to give it a ripple, help with the gases, and it just nicer to have a ripple effect up there. Has 2 inlets. The magnetic thing is nice. It does really make a difference. Like I'll show you. See that bad area right there? Let me move this little claw. This claw is very useful. And you can see like how well that actually works. Like look at that. Besides the really stubborn stuff, you may need to get a scraper. Like look at that. I just want to do that little spot. Like that's all it takes, honestly. And I just rinse out the filter once I do that, because it does kick up a lot of algae and stirs a lot of stuff up. Sometimes the corals hide, they come right back out. I just love the polyps on this. I haven't done coral roids as much, because when I've been doing it, they've been growing like crazy, which is nice. I wouldn't mind this growing bigger. This one I'm probably not going to give any more coral roids to. Same thing with this. This is just starting to get kind of ridiculous. I'd like to see the torch get bigger. I like to see these can get bigger. Green star polyps, I want them kind of spread, and I could, you know, kind of break pieces off and get it spread different areas, kind of cover these rocks. There's other corals I could get, but to be honest with you, this tank's not designed for a bunch of corals. I mean, you can do more corals, definitely not a bunch of fish, because your bioload, you have to worry about that factor, you know. That's why I change the water once a week, which is 4 gallons. So 4 times a month, that's 16 gallons, and this is a 32 gallons. So I change 50% of the water in a month's time, which is great. So that's what keeps everything, the nitrogen levels low, the ammonia. After a while, like I've noticed that levels do not change. Like, as long as I do a steady water change once every 7 days, I am good to go. Ammonia doesn't get high enough to kill anything, either does nitrogen or anything else. So since I change the water once a week, magnesium stays good, alkalinity stays good. The iodine I don't have a test for. Calcium's good. Phosphates are pretty good. They don't really have a lot of phosphates. It's not terrible, not enough to kill anything or do any damage. What else? Calcium. pH is good, as long as I change the water once a week. So honestly, the only thing I do is, I thought I would have to dose more, but calcium is the only thing it consumes. It consumes quite a bit of calcium in that week's time. I have to dose anywhere from, you know, every week I dose anywhere from 2 to 3 milligrams of calcium, and that's it. And I just kind of freely do that. I check it. Still a little bit kind of low, and add a little more. So really about 2 to 4. I just rinse the filter with the cold water, like a sprayer from the sink. So that flows a lot better. You can tell once you get stuff on there, because the flowage kind of, it builds up like a puddle. You don't want that. You want a nice flow. I just emptied this. Typically that, it'll start bubbling up. Usually, like when I first mess with it or change or clean a filter or something, it's a little off, and then it like I got it pretty much dialed into where the bubbles just go to the edge, and then it starts picking up waste. Sometimes I adjust that. The water level, how I know, is I decided to do a certain way on this, to use this meter bar. You want this as high as possible just because of the noise. It'll help with the noise, but what I do is about a finger, and you notice it's right on that line of my finger. And I test the water around that finger length. If it goes below that, then it starts losing. Above that, and it's not enough salt. So when if it gets below, that's too much salt. So I do the finger trick. When I test it at that finger point, that volume of water, because salt does not evaporate, is about 34 parts per million, and the gravity is at 1.026. So that's perfect. That's exactly where I want it. A little bit higher, just due to the corals. The fish wouldn't mind 124, 125, but I have it just a little bit higher for the corals. The anemones don't like it too high either, so you got to kind of watch it. That's crazy how they behave. I wish they would get along. I feel so bad. I'm almost tempted. I would hate to get another one and then them just battle that one. Like, I just don't know what to do. And then he tries to get crazy and get in the anemone with him, and he just does not want to have it. And of course, him not rubbing on the anemone and building that immunity and stuff, he gets stung. Sometimes I just see him sitting there twitching. I feel terrible because they need to get along. There's the bandit. He's a decent size. You gotta watch this guy. If you got any really, really small fish or a small scooter blenny, he'll attempt to try to grab him. He grabbed the scooter when he was much smaller and grabbed him from the back and started to walk up the rocks. Luckily, I had the grabber. I seen it. I scared him with the grabber. He hasn't tried since. Plus, the blenny's gotten bigger and smarter. He doesn't get as close to him anymore. So I have not had zero issues since then. Let me kind of hang this back up. What else? The timer's working beautifully. It does have electric fans in here to cool the lighting, which it doesn't. Its LEDs doesn't get that hot. You know, I have it cranked up a little bit more in the winter time, but not much on a heater. It keeps it pretty steady. I have it around almost 80. I like to keep it between 78 and 80. It's a little bit on the high side, just to be safe. I don't want it to get cold in here in the house and then the water temperature just drop. So right now, let's see if you can see, it's a little dirty. I need to clean it off. It's right barely below 80. So it's like at 78 right now. About 78, 79. So it's between 78 and 80 where I got to adjust it at. Stays there. In the summertime, it'll go up to 80, so I'll turn it down just a little bit, and it stays between 78 and 80. You don't want no more than a degree to 2. And then same with the salinity. You don't want it to drop too much. So basically, I just go off that one finger rule right here. That gives me a general idea, and I test it at that. And it's been consistent for months. Everything has. As long as you do the same thing over and over. I have a backup heater. I have a backup circulation pump. Don't have any backup lighting. You know, I still have the same gear, like the little quarantine thing with the drip, which I can do a allocation drip on something. You know, I still have the same brushes, the same suction thing, same hose I used to suck out the water. I still got a lot of the same parts. You know, I still use the reef crystals, because those are great. I have a temperature thing I used to use for my nitros, like taking temperature, but I like to take temperature of the tank to make sure it's good. Look at that. Rough, right there at that exact point, or the glass, it's a little bit colder, but it's about 77, 78 degrees there. Like he's going where the laser was. That's funny. What else? Like I said, I need to treat a little bit of spots. This natural stuff's not going to be around too much longer. They're going to discontinue this. This is good stuff. You don't want to treat more than 3 weeks in a row. One drop per, I think, like 20 or 30 gallons or something like that. So what's weird is the amount I have. I would have to do 1.5 drops, but you can't. So I do 2 drops. I don't do that too often, just every once in a while, just to make sure there's enough iodine for him, you know, for the invertebrates. They particularly need it to help with their shell and everything and their health. Filtration's pretty good. My Purichem's towards the end of its leg. I also need to buy some more of those. I can get a 2-pack for the filter, the top filter there, for like $10, so it's a great deal. One can last me at least 2 to 3 weeks. The first few ones I had only would go a week, and then I'll just throw it out like a dummy, or maybe 2 weeks. They go a little longer. I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, depending, especially if you spray them off and clean them and water could get through them. The carbonate goes bad. It's not so bad if you have a Purichem in there. You have to change them a little more often if that's your only carbon. What else? ChemiPure. If you have a lot of algae, they don't last as long either. So I'd say I'm due for one. I'm probably going to go here in the next few days, get another bag of ChemiPure, give me a 2-pack. And then I may treat them with a bottle of Tigger Pods. I'm hoping to put this bottle in at night when they're not kind of as active. Hopefully more of them can hide in the rock so they can reproduce. I want to, you know, have them reproduce. I thought about doing a refugium, but the kit's expensive. You have to buy something that separates this back chamber. One side is like your filtration, still your media, and the other side's basically an open area with a light and some algae, and then that's where you put the bottle of Tigger Pods, and then that's your supply of Tigger Pods, and they keep reproducing back there. I guess you could suck them out or let them get sucked out by the pump and blown in. I don't know if they'll live that way, but, you know, as long as the fish can eat it. A lot of them does like it. Like I said, some of them are really picky. It took to the point where he got pretty skinny before he started eating the frozen food, which I feel bad. And it's not really bulking him up. What I noticed is why the Scooter Blenny's a little bit not as skinny as him is he eats some of the pellets on the ground that I feed for the fish predominantly. I've kind of stayed away from the flakes. And he's not eating them. He may pick out one, but he doesn't eat them as much as the Scooter Blenny does. So I'm still kind of figuring stuff out for the Mandarin. I was told he would die the first couple weeks I have him just because I wouldn't be able to feed him and maintain his needs. But, you know, he's months and months and months old. He's probably old to begin with because he's much bigger than a standard one. So, you know, I've had him probably since like the second week. He was the second fish I ever got after the clownfish together. So he's been around when there was just rocks here. So he's been around a while. Several months. I would say at least October, November. I'd say he's at least 6 months with me. So he is kind of skinny. I don't like that, but I do feed him shrimp every day. And then I switch between brine and mine as shrimp. Brine's supposed to be more nutritious. I tried these other, like, tried as a Tigger Pod substitute. I'm just going to have to break down and buy another $28 bottle. I know online they're about that same price, but you just get more. So I may go that route. I don't know yet. The turbo snails are kind of hidden everywhere. Same with the hermit crabs. You just got to find them, but they're all here. What else? That 260-gallon pump, I have not broken that down yet and taken out to clean it, and it's been 6 months, and it still flows pretty good. That noise you're hearing is actually the air thing. If I close this, you can't really hear it. It's the air pump vibrating right here. What else? Refractometer's doing good. Really, everything I bought besides this, that's, I guess, the gravel. When it has that little suction pump thing, those get clogged. So I just tore mine off, and it works fine. I just need the tube. That was like 10 bucks. I just use the tube. Whenever I suck up a lot of this algae, I do sacrifice some of my live sand, so that kind of sucks, but it needs to be cleaned up. This is pretty dirty. It's usually much cleaner than this. I'm probably going to use the magnetic thing, clean, at least get the glass clear is my main objective. Wow, I have trouble saying words sometimes. I don't know why. My main objective, and then maybe I'll pluck some of this algae. It doesn't bother me long as they have something to snack on. I see the crabs and some of the hermits sometimes go in there and snacking on that algae, I guess, when there's not food in the tank for me putting it in here. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing long as they, long as it doesn't take over everywhere. It's not. It's just a couple selective areas, and then I get the gravel clean. I'm fine with it, you know. What else? That's pretty much it. This is just a, like, over 6 month update. You know, I think it's doing well. You can tell the difference between the different rocks I have, like the dry rocks and the actual rocks I got from that guy. I actually didn't get the Aiptasia from these original rocks. I got it from when I bought the mushrooms on another rock from another fish stores where I got the Aiptasia. These rocks were really, really good to me. They were in no lighting, so nothing was growing on them. They were just mainly used for filtration. There's the yellowtail damsel. He is grown. Not as big as I thought he would get by now, but he is growing. He's healthy for the most part. None of their fins are chewed up or beat up. Like, I think they're doing okay. A little skinny just for the Mandarin and the Scooter Blenny, but besides that, they're not too bad. Let's see if this guy's figured it out yet. He's like, I don't know about this shell, man. He's trying to, like, size it up. They're real picky about it. They make sure I can fit in it and everything. I just got to keep that branch away from... If he grows up that way, I'm perfectly fine with that. I just don't want him touching that one. I'll kind of keep an eye on that. You guys need to get along, man. It's funny how much bigger one is than the other, you know. They both eat. I watch them both eat. The little one sometimes eats a little more. So that's craziness. I don't know if he's kind of a dwarf or what. There's the mushrooms kind of... They don't like it I guess as long as he doesn't sting them, they're okay. There was a little one right there trying to grow. See it? Let's see, right there. So hopefully he doesn't get bothered by that. What else? That's pretty much it. Everything's still kicking and working. Circulation's good. It's got a good amount of flow, nothing too crazy now. Everyone seems to be doing well besides, you know, the Aiptasia right there that did the number on the... But you can see it's growing back. Like, all this was all gone just besides that little bit, like, right here. So all that's starting to grow back over it. I'll make sure I treat all the Aiptasia I just saw in this video. And that's pretty much it. What's funny is my schooner Blenny would never go on the walls and the rocks and stuff. And he saw Blue doing it, and he kind of started doing it too. So they're good for each other. They, like, actually will swim over each other and not bother each other at all. Like, they sleep by each other. Like, there's... It's cute right there. The emerald crab typically likes to hide in this little cave. He just kind of goes all over because he scavenges. But he hides all over these rocks. There's just so many places to hide. So many caves that he can hide wherever he wants. Yeah, that's a really big one. I need to treat that one right away. And I think I've seen another one over there by the green star polyps. So I was just trying to see where everyone's at. There's that. Sometimes he hides by, like, the anemones. He likes the anemones a lot. You actually see him hide by the anemones. There's one of my hermit crabs right there. He's right there. He's like, hey.